2 of the video is about your cover page, literature review, and references section. So I always like to start with something kind of easy to really just get those words onto my piece of paper. The worst thing is just staring at that blank piece of paper. So here's some easy things to start with. First of all, your cover page. You can do it. So it should be the title of your paper, which it can be creative. It can be a qualitative analysis of topic X. That's fine too, but you need a title, your name, the date you're submitting it, and then the course name and number. So each of these should be on a separate line. They should be centered on the cover page. They shouldn't be bold, italicized, or in all caps. They shouldn't be bigger. They're just 12-point Times New Roman font, and the cover page is not numbered. Then I would suggest moving on to your lit review or your method section, but I'm going to talk about the lit review first. So ideally, this is going to be around 4 to 6 double-spaced pages long, and just a reminder for what the literature review is. The purpose of the literature review is situating your research within the field. So think back especially to the Dow, the Daminger, and the whatever divorce readings you did. Those articles, they all had some type of literature review. Some might have called it a theoretical framework, situating their argument. And that is what you are doing as well. You use the 10 articles that you found, and maybe you found more, and maybe you found replacement ones if I said there were some that didn't work out, to create a conceptual argument or an integrated discussion of the ideas and findings from previous research to provide a framework for your own research question. You should identify either 2 or 3 major themes from these 10 articles. What are their findings about? And then you organize your literature review around these themes. So what does it say about, whatever your topic is, what are the findings about this theme, and what are the findings about this theme? And these people talked about this theme, and these people talked about this theme. Some people talked about both. Each theme should be at least 3 to 4 paragraphs long and will reference more than one source. So if you can only cite one source for a theme, it's not a theme. A bunch of people have to have talked about that in their findings. And then your literature review is in your own voice. You're paraphrasing ideas from the literature and minimizing the use of direct quotations. You really don't want to quote others. Sometimes you do, sometimes you have to. I don't know if you ever have to, but you want to be able to summarize their ideas. You should cite their ideas. You're not like stealing their ideas. You're giving them credit for their ideas, but you don't need to go quote, 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 quote. If you just quote, 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 that tells me you know how to pull ideas out of articles and put them into your own paper. It doesn't tell me that you understand that you're actually integrating their ideas. If you do quote, make sure you use a quote sandwich. So you introduce the quote, give the quote, and analyze the quote. And then also, when you're talking about others' ideas, you cite them. You give credit where credit is due. And you use ASA style citations, so author year, and you don't use the author's first name, and you don't use the title of the article. You should use second level headings to organize your literature by theme. But when you start out, you have your first level heading in all caps, literature review. And then you should start with a brief paragraph, maybe 3 sentences long, that describe your overall themes. Like I'll say later, this is not a mystery novel. You're putting all your findings up front, all your ideas up front. So in this literature review, the main themes I found were blah, 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 blah. And then you've got your second level heading of the first theme. The literature review will also end with a very brief summary of your themes you just reviewed. Yes, you just talked about them, and then you summarize them. Another way I like to think about literature reviews is that you're telling a story. So again, this is the idea to help you get away from the idea of summary of articles. You're telling a story of what is known about the topic in order to help convince readers that your study matters. So this is the part I know we didn't do as much, we didn't do it in the way that I had intended, but when I had you do a reading worksheet, I asked you, so what? Why should we care about this? This is the situating your so what. This is you setting up your so what. This is what we know. Here's the story. But we're missing this big part. And guess what? I did a research to fit into that big part. So you're crafting the story by using others' findings as evidence for your story, and not summary. There should be no statements throughout any of the literature review about whether or not you liked an article or your opinion about the articles. No opinions here. You are telling a story about others' findings. All right, the references section. Most of you have pretty much already done this. You just need to do a little revision. So use my feedback on your sources assignment to edit your reference list. I'm going to be looking at that rubric. I've told you what you need to change. I expect that you change it. And I also, on the other hand, I recognize that sometimes you don't have time to change it and you got to let some things go. So there's no judgment there. That's just, I get it. So your references should be on a separate page from the rest of your paper. You don't hit enter a bunch of times because that'll ultimately, your formatting will mess up that way. You enter a page break. They should be in alphabetical order. You can get Word to do that for you. They should be hanging, and there's instructions for how to do that there. And they should be double spaced, but not with extra spaces in between each. All right. So now I'm going to split off into that would be 4, into 2 different videos, depending on if you did qualitative or quantitative methods. So make sure you follow the proper video instructions for your method.